So let's imagine there was a bag of money and I had this bag and it had $10 million in it, right? It's real money. And I said to you, I'm going to give you this money. Simple question, yes or no, would you take it?
Yeah.
You would, right? Mm-hmm. What if I added a condition and that condition was, okay, you can take it, but the caveat to that, now the condition attached to that is that you will be locked up for the next 10 years. Would you take it?
We're back again, and I'm with three-time guest Shane DeCosta, but the first two don't count because we had a shitty setup, shitty camera, shitty microphone.
Delete them.
Shane, if you're listening, is a 7-figure personal trainer at Fitness First, had tons of trainers operating under him. He helped other PTs scale. COVID happened, went online, and it's just, you are a relentless entrepreneur. And I like that word, relentless.
It sounds like it.
Because today's podcast, I don't want to talk about tactics. I want to talk about how fucking hard business is sometimes.
Yeah.
The highs and lows, and it's not what you see on Instagram.
No.
I think anyone who's owned a business can testify to that. And I think for anyone who hasn't owned a business has no idea. I think they see all the glory and all the positives that come from it, but a lot of the setbacks and challenges and hardship they go through just probably don't really understand it. And I think that's why business owners kind of are. They network, they become friends, they talk a lot because you can share the good things that happen and also share some of the more challenging things that happen too.
I'd love a recap of your journey from entering the fitness industry as an in-person trainer to going online to now your next thing, which is freedom.
I'll give you the short version because the long one becomes boring, right? So I started in health when I was 18, as you do, purely because I was passionate about fitness. And I mean, you'd probably relate to that. And that passion becomes an obsession, right? And we don't just want it to be, suppose, something we do on a daily basis, but I wanted it to become then a career because it just kind of felt like it made sense. So fast forward many years, I ended up in a corporate space and I would humbly say one of the highest earning personal trainers that Australia's ever known, right? And there's many great trainers out there, but you know I'm pretty certain about that. I got myself to a point where I guess I realized through
Sorry, that's just too good to gloss over.
Yeah.
So you were working for Fitness First?
I was working at Fitness First. Of course, you know, there's the I suppose beautiful thing about personal training is you're an intrapreneur.
Correct.
Right. And it's the thing that we all love about the fitness space, and it gives us a taste of entrepreneurship without the extreme exposure to risk.
Yep.
So I got into that obviously very, very early.
So you're a PT in Fitness First. You built up your own diary. And then at what point did you start adding trainers under you? Because most people stop. No, most people don't even fill it up. They leave the industry.
Well, I think the reality is this, right? You're never going to exceed your expectations. Like you will set your own ceiling. And right from the beginning, I've always been this way. And if I sort of look back through my journey, when I was young, I mean, I didn't want to just play football. I mean, I literally flew to Portugal when I was 16 to go and trial at the same academy Cristiano Ronaldo was basically made, right? And, you know, like I always had these audacious goals. When I was 20.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Where did that belief come from?
You know, it's, I don't know that it comes from anywhere other than an intrinsic kind of focus and something that's either in you or it's not. I'm not sure that it actually is something that you can breed into someone.
To be the best version of yourself, or are you trying to impress someone? Was there someone that you wanted their approval?
No, I don't think it's got anything to do with that. I think you either want more or you don't. And there's you know, most of society are okay in the average and they accept an average existence, right? They're happy to live an average life, drive an average car, have an average relationship, you know, live in an average body, experience average things, you know, fly in an average seat. And then there are those 1%ers that aren't, where they just want more because life's too short, right?
Did you see something as a child? Did you come from a poor social background? Like what?
Not necessarily. I mean, I grew up in Redfern and it wasn't, you know, we were sort of blue collar. We weren't poor, but we didn't have money. I mean, it wasn't anything that I guess I experienced that gave me drive. I just always had that thing, well, fuck being average because, you know, that's pretty boring, right? And you sort of, I mean, I'm sure we all see things that help us become aspirational. It's whether we choose to reject the status quo and say, well, that's not enough. And in fact, I want to push myself. Why? Because think about this, right? Humans and who we are today is a byproduct of thousands of years of evolution. And the only thing that is certain is that we will change. Not only will society change, the way we work will change, the way we relate to each other will change. I mean, just look at social media. That's changed the way we deal with each other. So the only certain thing in life is change and evolution. You can't deny that things will change. So it's It's understanding that, I guess, things are either going to change for the better or for the worse. And you're either going to want to evolve or you're not. Things will change. Your life will change. But it's whether it's going to change for the better, and you get to choose your path. And so from my perspective, that the reason we're here on this rock, and I'm not theistic, I don't have a belief in God or anything like that. But one thing I do believe is that we exist to change and evolve. And the number one focus of any human should be to be a better version of themselves tomorrow. And that doesn't mean necessarily more money, doesn't mean any of that. You get to put and you get to define what that means. But it's about that humility to say, well, who I am today, tomorrow will not be enough, and I need to keep getting better as a human, as a husband, as a partner, whatever it is.
Our last few guests that we've had on, we kind of got to this point where, what was that defining moment in their life where they changed from who they were to who they are now. And a lot of the time we hear and we have conversations with other people about it, they're running away from what they were, or they don't want to be in that position that they were, and therefore that's kind of like their fuel or their motivation to not be there anymore.
Just two things you said really important. Change is going to occur. You may as well change for the better. Another way of saying that, there's always winners regardless of the economy. Regardless of external circumstances, people will always win.
Absolutely.
So if they win, why can't you win?
Yeah.
And for me, you said something really important too, is like growth. I find that when I'm happy and I'm at most peace and I'm at most calm, I am growing, not in all aspects of life, but the business is growing. I'm getting healthier. I'm becoming a better dad. Like there's got to be some type of fucking thing that's moving forward. Because when you're stagnating, it's just like, again.
You hit the nail on the head, I think, because we're purpose-driven creatures, right? You remove purpose from any individual, they become depressed. Because when we don't have clarity on where we're going, what we want to achieve, there's no reason to strive. Like, what are you aiming for? I mean, Simon Sinek says start with the why. If you look through that book, the whole premise is that you have to have clarity on why. Like, what do you want? Whatever it is, like why improve your health? Why improve your relationship? Why build a business? If you're clear on that and you've got purpose, then you can overcome anything in front of you, because obstacles are inevitable.
Yeah.
Change is going to happen. Setbacks are part of the process. It's whether you have the certainty and clarity that you need to push through and break through whatever adversity is. I think you touched on something though that was important. You sort of mentioned about, or you just mentioned
running away from something, or not wanting to be at a point where
I think that's humans, right? I mean, we either are motivated by fear or pleasure, and from a I suppose a limited understanding of the psychology of that, we're more motivated by fear and what we want to avoid, right? And that's
sales 101.
The fear of loss. That's sales 101. So the fear of loss or loss aversion. So if I give you something, loss aversion is more powerful as a motivator than it is to attain something.
Yeah. It's the classic Tony Robbins story.
Yeah,
it's like he used to say, do this to make $1,000. Lazy person won't get up.
Yep.
Put a gun to their head or I'll shoot
and they
you.
do it.
They fucking do it.
They do it. Because you've changed the conditions, right? And by changing the conditions, you create urgency. When you create urgency, then it's the work and the perceived work changes, right? The effort changes.
It's the classic weight loss client. How many times, I had a heart attack and then I decided to. They need that. Like my dad smoked his entire life. I was born, had asthma, stopped smoking.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with fucking willpower.
It's interesting.
He had a why. Yeah,
what motivates people, I guess. So for me, I guess, getting into the fitness industry, I didn't want to just have an average career. I mean, I sort of had the understanding that, I wanted to be the best that I could be. It doesn't make sense to me to go into anything and not have that perspective. So when I walked into the corporate gym that I was in, and this is not because I'm arrogant, it's because I'm aspirational. I walked into a gym with about 50 trainers at this point in time, and I was 22 in the Sydney CBD. And that's a competitive environment, right? Any environment like that, most trainers would never experience that in their life.
What year was that roughly?
Bondi Junction?
No, this was at Bond Street Fitness First, right? Yeah. And for me, looking at that now, even just looking back, I think, wow, what a crazy little shit, I walked into that gym with about 50 trainers that were all experienced, established. And that same day I walked in, I stood at the top of the stairs and I went, well, I had a colleague there with me that was already sort of familiar with the environment. And I said, who he is charging the most and the most, sought after? And he pointed to a guy on the floor, excellent individual, great human. And he goes, that guy there. And I said, well, I'm going to outcharge him. I'm going to outdo him in weeks. And guess what I did?
So was this literally day one that you started there?
Yeah, it didn't take me long. It didn't take me long. It was purely based on intention, because when you're clear on what you want, motivation and willpower no longer become an issue, right?
And without
it's a standard.
You set standards, right? It's easy setting goals. Standards are the hard thing.
Did you have any logical reason to believe that? And that might sound, or were you just so sure of yourself that I'm going to do whatever it takes?
Well, that's a good question, because humans we're emotional creatures, and then we justify logically. The only proof we have is in the work we've already done and the evidence we've already produced. Hormozy says, you outwork your self-doubt. Like, produce the evidence. If you don't believe that's a limiting belief. I interviewed a kid yesterday, which was really interesting. And he said, you know what I do? He says, on a daily basis, I assess my limiting beliefs. And then I identify the limiting belief. And then I go do work that proves that to be wrong. Yeah. At a young age, this kid was 19, right? 19. To have that level of perspective, I went, holy shit. Like, he recognizes that the limiting belief is just a thought. And then that thought leads to an emotion. That emotion will dictate my actions, and that action is going to dictate the quality of my life.
Yeah. And a belief someone has, money is the root of all evil. I disagree.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree more with that. I think it's the root of all good. I mean, because it's not money, but it's your intention about what you do. And I know people that have got a lot of money that do a lot of good in the world, right? Yeah. I'd love to have more money to be able to do more with it. And so it's how we frame the thing.
And another Hormozy quote I love is, we question all of our beliefs except the ones we truly believe, and those we never think to question.
Yeah.
And that limiting belief that kid could have had for years and years and years, like, well, why do I fucking believe that? And is it true? Can I find evidence it's not true? What don't I know?
Yeah.
So when you went in and you singled out the best performance, that I'm going to charge more, I'm going to have more clients, I'm going to outdo him. Obviously, you're probably a pretty competitive person by the sounds of it. But did you have any reason to believe that to be true, or was it just absolute confidence in yourself?
You hadn't gone through AP's amazing sales course
yet. You hadn't sold a bunch of people and done something else or trained people. You just thought.
The only experience I really had at that point, I'd done a little bit of personal training at City Gym at the time, and I remember having this experience with a client that I didn't want to train for, and I won't go into the reasons why I didn't want to train this person. And so at that time, when I was sort of 20 years of age, I was charging $40, which was a lot of money for a session back then. Right? You're talking about in 2000, something like that, right? And I learnt a very important lesson. When the prospect came to me to say, hey, I want you to train me, and I didn't want to train him, guess what I did? I doubled my prices. And when the prospect said yes, I went, holy shit, I've just learned something. That it's not the price. It's the status by which you communicate, to the market and how they believe you're going to solve their problem. Yeah. So going into that corporate environment, I already had established that. And in fact, just some months earlier, if you're talking about evidence, I had a very well-known, an influencer in the eastern suburbs, well, I won't name, but a very, very famous man, wealthy, I'm talking multi-millionaire, laugh at me, client of mine, laugh at me when I told him
$40.
No. Oh, the opposite. When I told him that I was going to a corporate gym and I was going to start charging $80, and he literally laughed in my face. And as a 21-year-old, so you're talking about evidence, the evidence was already proving me otherwise. And so in that moment, I had a choice. Like, do I accept that as rejection and as truth? Or do I reject that as truth and say, well, let me show you otherwise, right? Because we're all going to have people that doubt us. But as long as we have enough, I suppose, awareness to interpret that as that's just someone's opinion. It doesn't mean it's true, because it's subjective, right? It's a subjective statement. So I was like, well, fuck you.
How much of your motivation is to prove them wrong?
I would honestly say it had nothing really to do with that individual. That was just like a moment in time where I'm just well, you're insignificant in the big picture of things.
Yeah, I'm a petty motherfucker.
Yeah,
I get driven by shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, fair enough.
We're both of us big Michael Jordan fans.
Yeah.
There's like the whole running joke of like it was like one of his stories, like a Puerto Rican like national team, and this guy on the bench said
that's another level, man.
Yeah, and then he was like,
that's another level.
Took that person.
Yeah.
In terms of like being like driven by like to prove something wrong, like I think it's powerful for a certain point, and then it's got to be about you, because once you are better, or once you
give your power to that person if it's like you're changing what you do because of someone's opinion that doesn't really matter anyway. So I'm not really.
Did you ever doubt yourself? Did you ever think, fuck, like?
Humans are going to doubt themselves. We all doubt ourselves. There's all these.
Was there a sliding doors moment where you thought this isn't going to work for me?
The whole, absolutely, absolutely. Because there's we call those little voices in our head that will pop up. I mean, if we sort of fast forward over the years, there are so many situations that will challenge you that become extremely hard. I remember going through that personal training journey through the GFC and being concerned, not understanding the bigger picture in finance, and being in a corporate environment with lawyers, people in finance and whatever else, and their world changing, thinking, holy shit, am I going to lose all my clients? What is this going to mean? And then when I realized, well, nothing's actually changing, then you just kind of keep moving forward. So there is doubt, of course. And then there's a degree of, I suppose, doubt that comes with every new chapter. So, what we're talking about is a chapter. But if we're in the process of evolution, like you guys went through yourselves, you went from your career then to building the next thing, every chapter brings an opportunity for doubt.
Maybe a better question was, did you ever doubt being an entrepreneur? Did you ever look at the other side of,
absolutely.
I've got friends in
Dude,
banking.
absolutely.
I can get a job in banking.
Absolutely. Dude, I was running, I don't know if you know, but before COVID, well before that, when I had sort of progressed, I'll give you a bit of context, when I progressed from being a personal trainer to running a personal training business and having 12 to 13 personal trainers working for me, right? At that point, I realized, well, I know how to unlock the system. I took trainers that were literally on the verge of having to close shop and somewhat file for whatever level of bankruptcy because they couldn't pay their rent, to the point where within 4 weeks, they're booked out with 30 to 40 sessions, taking home more than they ever did as a contractor to me. So when I learned that system, then I started going up and down the country. I was going to Brisbane, Gold Coast. We went down to Melbourne, doing events in Sydney, live events, just targeting personal trainers on how to create a scalable leverage system within franchises like Anytime, Fitness First, and whatever else, right? Now, it worked and it didn't. So you're talking about doubt. I ran an event, one of the last events I ever ran just before COVID, by the way, which was fascinating. And I had one fucking person in the room.
Just one person.
I ran ads. Dude, like think about that. Like,
would have been a good chat.
No, you've got no context. Wait, imagine running an event, flying down to a fucking event, and you've got 10 people registered for this thing, right? Because you're running a live event, like we do webinars these days and whatever else.
Then.
And knowing a fraction of what I know today, 1/100th of what I know today, but having the balls to show up and talk for 3 hours about scaling this, that, and the other, blah, 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 right? So rocked up and this event was set up. I've got my banners and all this shit. And this one dude rocks up.
Oh man.
You want to talk about fucking doubt?
Was that PT successful? I fucking hope he was.
It's a live event to sell someone in, right? Think about a webinar, an experience, a dramatic demonstration. That's what it is, right? And so we had our framework, our structure, and this one person. By the way, I delivered the shit out of that fucking workshop,
Yeah, I was gonna
right? Because I thought, well, this guy's given me his time, and the only good thing I could do was, or the only right thing I could do was to share, to give, and to exchange. But I can tell you when that was going on deep inside me, I'm like, fuck, there's something I don't know. I had clues. Don't get me wrong, I had clues. I recognized that my brand matters more than ads.
Yeah.
I had no brand. I hadn't established myself. I hadn't positioned myself as a subject matter expert, as a key person of influence. I hadn't given enough to the world yet, in order to earn the respect for people to know me, like me, trust me, and to want to attend, right? And to actually give me their most valuable thing in the world, which is their time and attention, right? So that was a big lesson. So we learned from our lessons. But we have to choose whether we learn. But I learned from the lesson.
For us, and I think for all entrepreneurs, like you said, you go through different stages, right? You have different businesses or different products or different services, and you
the hard thing is evolving, but
and then it's like each time we have transitioned into something new, we try to take the good things that we learned from before, fuck off the things that we did wrong, and I think those things we did wrong, more important things we did right. It's like, okay, well that were big mistakes.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
We've had so many failures that you just forget about. We did a 28-day online weight loss challenge for Dog Rescue Newcastle.
Wow.
Ran ads for Boost Post. It was $28 for 28 days. You'll fucking laugh at this too.
What?
We got a positive ROAS through an e-commerce checkout.
Yes,
we had no fucking idea what we were doing.
2017.
We had a website built, not even a landing page.
That's where you learn. That's where you cut your teeth, right? So like I remember then, I suppose, going through that lesson and realizing, okay, well, now I've learned a bunch of shit. And then, of course, COVID hits.
Yeah.
And at that point, two businesses I'm running that are both doing very well, or, no longer exist. Personal training business goes to shit. I'd already worked so hard to rebuild it, because that's a freaking nightmare of a business, by the way. And then I was, I had my consulting offer, and I had probably maybe 20, let's say, fitness professionals all over the country, whether it be in Western Australia or whatever they were. And every one of those obviously were messaging me saying, okay, shit's gone real, and we're shutting down. So I had 2 sources of income shut. And I suppose not lucky for me, but I guess this is the lesson, right? Because they say, people get lucky. We don't get lucky. What it is, it's opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah.
And so prior to COVID, I was already thinking, I don't know why. I mean, it just was that I was already like, well, how do I do this online? I was already watching a former employee of mine crush it, Jayme Smith, right? He worked for me at Fitness First for a short period of time. And he was great at positioning, at marketing, and doing the organic stuff that led to many offers.
I remember discovering him at about 10,000 followers, and all he did had a balloon go up in front of his face. It just said calorie deficit.
Yeah.
And he just posted, and now he's fucking.
So I'd watched the rise of that. I mean, he sent me a video from the airport in London or wherever he was as his application for, working for me in my personal training service. And then when he landed and I watched what he was doing, I realized, wow, there's incredible opportunity online. I don't know that space. I mean, I really don't know that space, right?
This is where we met in the same mastermind.
Yeah, so
we're all in it.
Yeah,
all in it.
Well, I remember that moment, and just networking and asking people at that time, which was slightly just before COVID hit. Like, who do you know? And I got a recommendation. That recommendation, then I acted on it very quickly. So it's not what we know; it's what we do, right? Constantly. So many people get recommendations, learn about things, watch this podcast, but do fuck all. Yeah. So it's what you do.
Most
so I was
people.
like, most people.
My number one skill. I'm going to blow some smoke here.
Yeah.
I execute like you wouldn't. Fucking
But that's
believe.
the power. That's the power.
Mitch got an idea. The webinar's done.
Let's
by
rock
the
and
end
roll.
of the day.
Yeah, let's rock and roll, make it happen. So speed to execution, because they say money loves speed, right? So it's like, well, I got the recommendation. Within no time, I'd set up the appointment. I didn't need to think about it, because a decision doesn't need time. What it needs is a fucking decision. Is it right or is it not? So then when I got the information, I was like, am I going to do this or not? Well, I am, because I want to learn the lesson and I want to get out of this gym. And I actually felt, I was already, as a solo personal trainer, to give you a bit more context, I was already doing 300K as a solo personal trainer.
Yeah.
I'm probably the only personal trainer you will ever meet that sold a personal training package for $140,000. Now, adjusted for inflation, that'd be about $170,000 today.
Big high ticket sale, mate.
Well, you're talking about a set of balls. Yeah. Imagine asking for a corporate client for $170,000. Right? As a personal trainer, when everyone else is selling $60 packages and fighting their way to the bottom, I was like, fuck you. You're going to pay me $200-something an hour a year in advance, right? For your fucking C-suite team. Yeah. That was my approach. So, and I'm still looking, how do I get out of this?
Yeah.
I was going to work and feeling like I wasn't growing anymore. And when you're not growing, you're not inspired.
So did you feel like that there was a better way that you were missing?
Of course. I knew there was things I didn't know. And I actually felt like I was dying inside. I felt like, fuck, there's got to be more to this. And I felt like I was a prisoner to my location.
Yeah.
I actually felt like I was a prisoner to my location.
And this goes to the next chapter, going online.
Yeah.
Every personal trainer on earth thinks, I'm going to go online. It's going to be fucking easy.
Good luck with that.
Well, it's the freedom element. The freedom element of it.
It's beautiful.
When you're in person, obviously you have to be there. And I mean, maybe not you personally, but someone needs to be there. And then online's just this whole wide world of freedom.
So during that mastermind, AP and AG, Systems by Design, was the pivotal moment in our career to start fitness business consulting.
Yeah, and it was for me too.
I ended up becoming a high ticket sales rep.
Yeah.
For an online fitness company.
Yeah.
And they were doing millions a month, 8 figures a year.
Yeah, crazy.
What I got from that, it was the belief of seeing someone do it right in front of my own eyes.
Yeah.
And I just saw this amazing system of I couldn't believe the automations, the calendars. Yeah. How's that custom value? You get to that custom field over there. How do the VAs process money? So it was just it was incredible. The best operating system I've ever seen. And
and there was some beliefs. I mean, we'd done phone sales for years up until that point. So it wasn't like the belief break of, okay, you can sign up somewhere over the phone to buy something, exchange credit card information, process payment. That was already done. But
established for you.
Yeah, it was the whole elaborate system of, and I think for me, it was like people working around the country and they were all selling
doing fucking sales calls at 9:30, like Saturday morning.
Different time zones, Saturdays, Sundays. It was early, late. It was high price. And there was just a lot of things like, wow, like this is
my
possible.
first day selling was April the 8th. It was Saturday after your birthday. I remember it. It was a Saturday morning. And I was open from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. I thought, no one's going to fucking book in a call then.
You're back to back.
I had 8 calls back to back to back. Made 3 sales on day one. And then AP knew I was for real.
Yeah, wow.
But to talk about like beliefs. So we had our own online fitness business called Breakthrough Active Body Transformation. Got to 100 clients really quickly. As you know, if your online business is successful, you just fucking break that level. We broke everything so quickly. Yeah. And I actually just love the sales side of it more than the delivery side.
Yeah.
Job offer came up. applied for it. It's an AP5 call recording. He said, hey, mate, here's 4 fails, 1 sale. They're my own calls. He said, mate, didn't listen to your calls. I appreciate your confidence. I'll give you a crack.
Yeah, well.
And the rest is history.
Nice.
And that led to this business we have now.
Yeah. Well, I think just all talk about, I guess, bad things that lead to good things. The whole COVID thing, which was horrible for just about everyone, really.
Yeah.
It paved the way to have these online businesses like these to be just so accepted.
Yeah.
At least as far as I'm aware, like before that, if you're doing business with someone and you weren't in the same area and you didn't meet face to face, like it would have been pretty challenging.
Yeah.
So before we joined that mastermind, I sent Mitch 3 YouTube videos. It was High Performance Mums, it was Strong Life, and it was Diabetes Australia. It was like your testimonial story, transformation story.
Oh, yeah.
So this fucking guy was a PT. He's doing fucking
Yeah,
$4 million a year.
Yeah.
Listen to him.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to $1 million months not too long after. So yeah, I suppose the journey, you know, of going from a personal trainer is one of many deaths, right?
Yep.
This is important because, you know, we often, when we say we're our own limiting factor, we create our own ceiling, and it's often rooted in a statement saying I am. Now I never forget. Actually, you talked about something earlier, which now just come to mind. And I was working really hard in Fitness First to break the mold. I literally created reform in Fitness First Australia. They had to, and they had no fucking choice but to go and revisit the legal structure around their fucking franchise model because of what I was doing. They were so scared I was going to take over the whole fucking thing that I had the CEO, I had state managers and all kinds of people breathing down my neck, wanting meetings, trying to create restriction and whatever. I'll never forget the day one of them said to me, let's not forget, you're just a personal trainer. Ooh. And when he said that and he looked at me in the eye and I was like, yeah, I'll fucking show you what I am.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing, right? So I am, then what follows is either true or it's not true. And so then if we say it, it becomes true. And so many trainers will limit themselves and create the I suppose the roadblock to growth and change by saying, I'm just a personal trainer. I'm just a Pilates thing. I'm just instead of like creating possibility. So it's a journey of many deaths. So I had to die. The version of me that was the technician and wanted to be a great technician, putting all my time and energy into studying, you know, gapping and mobility and going into the deep science of strength programming and whatever, because you have to, that version of me had to die. And what had to be born was the possibility. And so then you've got to go into learning new things and you've got to open yourself up to being stupid. Yeah. You've got to open yourself up to not knowing. You got to go deep into other sciences.
When we talk to business owners, that's probably
the biggest challenge.
The journey that they need to go on, they're going on, or they're just completely unaware. Mm-hmm. Because it's in the fitness industry, to your point, people get in it because they
want to be a technician.
Yeah, passionate about whatever type of training they do. And I don't doubt that most people are great trainers and operators and everything. And then they're trying to grow their business. Yeah. Or they're trying to, second studio or whatever, and they just don't have the knowledge. They don't have the skill to be able to do that.
Before you went online, you quickly grew to 8 figures, $1 million months. Mm-hmm. Before you made that decision, had you ever been inside Ads Manager?
Not really, no.
Not really?
No. And you've got no choice. That's what my point is. My point is you've got no choice. If you want to experience life in a different way, then you've got to learn new skills. The skills we have become our limiting factor, right? And in terms of what we can earn, what we can do. So you've got no choice but to die. Like that version of me, the technician, had to die. And I had to allow that to happen very quickly. In other words, I'm no longer the technician. And then you need to go into new areas of discomfort. And so you've got, your kind of comfort zone. Outside of that, you've got your growth zone and you've got your freak out zone. So I had to step into the growth zone, which is uncomfortable. And learn new things and not limit myself by saying, I don't know this. Well, how can I learn?
I'd love to unpack. You joined the mastermind. I remember you started a few separate brands that weren't successful.
Yeah, most of my brands were not successful.
And at that point, that's when people quit. And then you stumbled across, I think it was one of the fucking smartest things I've ever seen in my life. Like the name of your brand, the niche of your brand.
There's a fucking story in that, I can tell you.
I remember showing it to you. I remember showing it. You got to fucking see this. So
it was the government organisation.
Yeah,
that's how we built it.
Yeah,
that's how we built it.
I think that's for everyone.
So just quick recap. Online coaches need a fucking niche. Everyone needs a niche. You know that, but like you found the gold mine of gold mines.
Yeah, I think at that point, I can't quite recall what was the inspiration, but I remember hearing about the concept of the red ocean, right? And then an opportunity switch. In other words, you've got to create a blue ocean within a red ocean. And so it's about niching down within niches within niches. And so usually like when you pair up, you're like menopausal women with type 2 diabetes, it's not just menopausal women. Yeah. You're narrowing down, particularly when you've got an addressable market that's large, like you can actually speak to a problem a lot more clearly that positions you as a subject matter expert very in a way that no one else can. Yeah. So for me, it was really about identifying, okay, well, how are we going to stand out? Because we started with 2 super generic brands, Fit Mums and Bikini Bodies. But you know what? It fucking worked. Yeah. Like Fit Mums actually worked, right? But it's so generic and everyone's done something like that, you know, Performance Mums or some other version of that, whatever, right? And so when you're competing on that level, then it's a race to the bottom. Right, that doesn't make sense. It's a race.
Well, you've got competitors who are doing the
exact same shit. Yeah, and then it's effectively the attractive character. That's the differentiating factor. So I had a good attractive character at the time in that process, but I realized, well, if I'm going to do bigger things, because I was already chasing $1 million months, I was like, how do I actually break this kind of mold? How do I do something that's so crazy? And so I knew, okay, there's a bigger issue here. So where's the blue ocean? Well, I knew, okay, well, it's in heart health, but I was going after diabetes first. That got us to 150K very quickly, like on a weekly basis. And then as soon as, there was a bunch of other brands in there that didn't work after Defeat Diabetes, but the next one that did was Heart Smart. And that took me to $250,000 weeks. And that's where I truly understood the need to have, I suppose, not just an incredible sales team, but rock solid SOPs and a delivery mechanism that makes it scalable and whatever else. So we fucked that system up completely, right? Let's call it what it is. We fucked it up badly.
Yeah, but I guess just that's it, right? Like I know a lot of people that joined that mastermind and they would say things like this mastermind didn't work.
Yeah,
because they tried one brand and they failed.
It's bullshit.
And again, going back to belief, before I joined that mastermind, James Kent was saying, hey mate, I was looking at other online coaches that could help me go online.
Yeah.
And I was looking at a few, and he said, mate, just fucking call AG. I said okay. And then I saw him post the sales dashboard every week when they were doing organic marketing.
I remember seeing that.
I thought, what the fuck is this?
How the fuck is he
I thought
doing
that
this?
can't be, that's what made me join. I thought that can't be fake.
That can't be,
That can't be fake.
No, it wasn't. It was absolutely real. I mean, and so that was when you see someone do something, it's like that story about the 4-minute mile or something. Yeah. No one did it
when everyone started breaking.
Yeah, no one did it for however many years because no one did it. It's like, it's not possible. And because it's not possible, then you don't do it. But as soon as someone broke that, then it became possible. And all of a sudden you got all these people coming straight after breaking that 4-minute mile.
Talking about niching just for a sec. So how important do you think that is now? Has that changed since you were doing it a few years ago? Because we kind of wrestle somewhat with the idea that we target fitness businesses. That's kind of where all our brand is. It's our experience. It's who we speak to.
We help fitness businesses, but we solve in a very unique way. We make sales calls for them when they fucking hate
the offer is everything, right? So
So I guess my point is, how important do you think it is to completely zone in on a specific type of person as opposed to going a little bit more broad and have a bigger TAM and have a bigger net that you cast
I think
out?
there's a concept that when you try to be something to everyone, you're nothing to no one.
I agree with that.
And so particularly like if, even in a country with 20 whatever million people we are, there's still enough people that you can niche down to a point, right? And as long as you're not first to market. So that the biggest mistake people make is thinking, okay, well, I'm going to create an offer. And if they create something that's totally new, no one's done, it's not validated, and then it doesn't work, they're like, oh, fuck, like this whole thing doesn't work. No, like you've done something that no one's doing, you haven't proven, it's not validated. Yep. But if you're not first to market, and I'm never first to market, I always look at, is this already proven as an offer? Is it already proven as a model? Is this already working, and who's doing it well? Russell Brunson talks about offer hacking. So get the offer, right?
Mate, I am an offer hacking fiend.
So go and look at what someone else is doing, how they're doing it, what they're charging, how they've structured it, and therefore it's validated. They're in operation. Go and check out ads library. And if they're running ads, it's fucking working. Yeah. It's clear because no one runs ads if it's not working.
Months, they're probably still working because they've been running for fucking 6 months.
Exactly, right. So once you offer hack, then you need to go funnel hack. And when you funnel hack, then you go look at the steps and the process, the message. What's the message? What's the unique mechanism?
You know what kills me, mate? People aren't fucking curious. Why are they sending me to ManyChat? Why isn't it going to a website? I use Facebook forms, but they want high quality. They're using a survey now. Yeah. I got disqualified. They wouldn't let me through.
Why did they do that?
So will you look at a proven concept or what you determine to be proven based off if there's ads running, it's business, it's follow-up, whatever, and then will you think, okay, well, how can I do it better? Or how will I do it bigger?
Always.
Or how will I?
Always.
Is that kind of your
It's just how do I do it my way, right? Because here's a reality. Like I've just gone into teaching people how to transition into remote sales, and naturally you would think if in anything you're going into, I'm sure you guys face this as well when you were going into your particular offer, right? So I'm still running my health thing, I'm still going, but I'm going into other things now. And naturally the internal belief is, well, can I actually do this? Because this person's doing it. This person's doing it. This person's doing it. Oh, and they're all like, world class. They're all, already better than me. But guess what? None of those fuckers are me.
Yeah.
So I don't give a flying fuck. So for me, it's like, well, okay, you might be great at what you do, but you're not me. And so therefore, I have a secret sauce that you don't.
People would look at my face and think I fucking hate that guy for no other reason
and there's
whatsoever.
Just because your head. I'm sure there's a lot of people. But then there's who gives a shit?
But then there's people that resonate with me because
You can hate me all you want, but you're going to give me a credit card at the end of the day if I'm going to solve your problem.
But it's not. I feel like the whole thing, like there could be 10 fitness business coaches, right? Or 10 online coaches that all do the exact same thing. People are going to resonate with you for different reasons altogether.
Completely.
It doesn't mean that you can't enter that space.
Yeah. So back to your point about sort of whether or not I think you sort of mentioned about niching down. Absolutely. You need to be an expert in something. Like people need to believe, okay, well, you've obviously figured it out and this is your area of brilliance. It's your area of genius, right? That's what you know better than anyone else.
And for us and for you being in the online space and the whole country, or, if you're in different countries, you have such a big market. What I think we see some owners struggle with in a local market is they try to be the local, the best Pilates studio in the area, and there's just not enough people.
You can't niche down locally.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what we see. But on
that's different. That's a different conversation.
Exactly. Online space, obviously, like you said, because if
you have access to everyone that has a phone.
Yeah,
right? You've got access to anyone that has internet.
What was the line you said before? If you're something to everyone,
you're nothing to nobody. I mean, you sort of, if I was launching an online offer that was Pilates driven, well, I wouldn't just make it Pilates. I would find a niche within Pilates that I could test very quickly, validate whether or not it works, because we can validate offers super quick. If I wanted to niche down and I had particular ads that had a very specific message to a very specific person, within 24 hours to 48 hours, we can look at the data on the meta ads, and see, okay, whether or not there's some juice in this. And then we can sort of look at the flow on from that in terms of landing pages.
If you want to run an online Pilates program, it wouldn't be online Pilates program. It would be ladies over the age of 50 that are going through menopausal issues, that want to get back into training, that don't want to go to a 24/7 gym.
A problem.
Here's my 26-week Pilates.
So here's the problem, right? No one wants Pilates. What they actually want is they want what they want.
So fit pros fucking hate that because they think they care about their program. Not the result.
That's the mistake. The mistake is thinking that anyone gives a fuck what you actually do. No one does, because what they actually care about is what they care about.
So why do fit pros think it does matter? Is it an ego thing? Is it they just love it so much?
I don't think it's an ego thing.
I think it's a passion thing. I think it's ignorance. I don't think it's an ego thing. They just think like, I love it. This is the best thing because it's helped me so much, or my 5 friends all love it. My mum loves it. Therefore,
correct.
It should be for everyone.
So think of it like this, right? When you want to go on a holiday, in Flight Centre, for example, are the means by which you're going to determine where you're going to go. Like they're not telling you about the actual seat that you're going to sit in, what meals are going to be served. I don't give two fucks. You're going to sell me the destination. What do I actually want? And so if they're doing their job well, what they're going to target is the pain, right? At a particular time in the year, a 9-to-5 office worker is going to be experiencing fatigue, burnout, exhaustion, and detachment from their partner, right? So imagine Flight Centre said, hey, in terms of targeting a pain, like, are you burnt out, frustrated, and finding yourself at this point in time, like, detached from, your relationship and needing a break? Do you need to reconnect? Do you need to create more spark in your marriage again? Well, here's our X, Y, and Z package, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it's a 5-day retreat, this, that, and the other, blah, blah. So you're selling an outcome based on a problem someone is experiencing intrinsically.
Yeah. Sell the smile, not the braces.
Yeah, sell the smile.
Yeah. Do you wake up in the morning and it's dark, you're going to work, you finish work, it's dark again?
Yeah.
Experience this 5-day retreat where it's sun's 20 hours.
Correct. So you're speaking to the problem. So I think where, we go wrong, we think, okay, well, we need to sell what we do. No, you need to sell what it delivers. Like no one wants the drill. What they want is the hole.
Yeah.
Right. So it's sell the outcome, which is critical. So niching down, yes, is super important. And I made like lots of mistakes in that. I remember testing different brands and whatever else, thinking, this one's going to crush. And usually they don't.
And the
and the
more,
ones you
can't
think
tell you
will,
how many things are
don't.
just
I remember launching a healthy gut program thinking this is going to crush. Now, it probably would have crushed if I had a different attractive character behind it, because that's a very specific niche and problem that has, it needs a different person on the front
I
end.
think you're a bit late to the party because James crushed gut health.
Oh, did he?
But gut health, remember when
Yeah, I remember seeing what he did.
it was
Yeah.
gut health supplements everywhere.
Yeah.
IBS was.
IBS.
Yeah.
But I think the more niche down you are, the more poignant you can be with your message too.
Yeah.
You can really speak to more of their like you said, the example with Flight Center, if you're targeting 9 to 5 workers and you can talk exactly through that, that might not be the exact same problem that a business owner might have who doesn't work 9 to 5. Like, perhaps it would be, but the more niche down you are, you can really, really get specific with your messaging.
Successful PT business, transition online, successful business, and now you're studying your next
Successful or not. Successful or not.
Yeah.
Fuck. Man, some ups and downs in that journey, man.
Yeah. So the next one is teaching people to go online to become a remote salesperson.
Yeah.
Now, transparently, I said this before on the podcast, my second month of doing high ticket sales, we own the gyms, Mitch was run the gyms, I was doing this. I earned $7,000 in my first month. Then I earned $28,000 the following month.
In remote sales.
Yeah,
wow.
And that's uncommon. I came already with a lot of fitness sales experience and I couldn't believe it. I was just at home taking calls, earning money.
And not worrying about delivery, not worrying about any of that.
Yeah, my sales notes needed to improve.
And I think the beautiful thing in that, and what I think there's an opportunity where, people that have come from fitness have this innate desire for entrepreneurship, but most don't have the skill, as you said earlier, to become full-blown entrepreneurs, because that entrepreneurial journey is one of a lot of pain and a lot of setbacks and a lot of doubt and a lot of moments of extreme pressure. And most people aren't built for pressure. We particularly this day and age, we're conditioned to want an easy life. Everything's easy. And when something's hard, the thing we tell ourselves straight away, or maybe it's not right then. Well, it doesn't mean it's not fucking right. It just means it's hard.
Yeah.
And because it's hard, it means that most aren't willing to do it. Therefore, you get what you sort of push through, or you get what you earn, right? So the journey, I guess, for a lot of people is transitioning then into intrapreneurship. The concept of intrapreneurship, in other words, being a pseudo business owner within the business. So you got to experience that firsthand, which is, okay, someone else can have all the headaches of the marketing, the delivery and problems with, complaints and whatever
Everything.
else, right? Staff,
Everything.
people quitting and the stuff that you just do not want to deal with, right? And it's a nightmare. Sometimes, like, the amount of times I wanted to blow shit up, I couldn't fucking tell you. I literally wanted to put a fucking grenade under my business every day for probably the last 2 years straight, right? It's like, fuck this, I'm blowing this thing up, and my wife's like, oh, settle down. I'm like, what's wrong now?
Sleep
I'm
on
like, this, that, and the other, blah, blah. Anyway, so intrapreneurship gives you that ability to step in. That's why, something like remote sales or whatever it is so attractive to so many people, because you get the dream without the nightmare.
Yeah.
Right.
And you mentioned Fit Pros, they chase personal development. They really, they have that desire to be more.
And that's one of our strengths. I would say as Fit Pros, some of the most, I guess, amazing entrepreneurs in the world were Fit Pros. Fucking Alex Hormozy. Let's just, if you look at the evidence is there. There's a certain type of person that is attracted to gyms, to their aspirational.
It starts with your own personal development on your body.
The whole thing is about personal development. Think about how you're talking today.
Back to remote sales, sorry. I didn't know it was a thing up until I've got Sackle coming on, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Next episode.
Yeah,
up until his first ever podcast, the Sales Sniper podcast.
Yep.
Like, what is this? And who's Jeremy Miner?
It was this whole subculture that we didn't even really know about.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I landed a high ticket role. I'm like, what is this? I'm like,
how does this work?
Is this even legal?
It's weird.
Like,
why is someone talking to me?
But it is getting more and more common in Australia as more and more people are becoming.
There's a lot more
exposed to
awareness about it. And I guess there's an attractive aspect to that lifestyle, which is what we've already spoke about. It's the dream without the nightmare, the ability to, earn more in a quarter than you do in a whole year.
Yeah.
To not have to wake up in the morning and be stuck in a commute going to a job that you actually hate. Geographical, constraints.
So how do you determine when? So because you've still got your other health business.
Yeah. We're launching in the US now. I mean, we've set up in the US. We've got our C Corp set up. We're launching Hearts.
How do you determine when it's okay for you to not stop doing that because it's still going and then move on to something new?
I think the lesson I learned is, it's a hard lesson. The lesson is that, entrepreneurship is about riding waves. right? And every offer is going to have a dream phase, and then every offer is going to have a nightmare phase. Whether you like it or you fucking don't, right? It's going to happen. We talked about change, and there's 3 guarantees in life. I always tell people there's death, there's taxes, and the fact that things are going to get fucking hard, right? So
how inspiring.
Yeah, right? Whoa, hey.
Feel good about that.
But actually there's beauty in that, right? If you sort of take it from a stoic perspective, death gives you the perspective that time is not infinite. In fact, that you need to enjoy the moment. You know, taxes are fuck that. I'm going to talk on that. But the challenge is beautiful, because you think about the challenge and the adversity. And if we sort of look at it from a perspective of, well, it's either going to happen to you or for you, you are the people you are today, and me included, because of the adversity and the challenge we had to face, which creates growth, right? Growth doesn't come through sitting in a fucking little comfort zone in your little local gym or whatever. It comes through challenge, like going to a mastermind, reading a fucking book. I never picked up a book really before I started my personal development journey. The first book I picked up, in fact, because I was wanting to be a better version of me, was How to Win Friends and Influence People. I remember going on to a cruise with my wife, and she was saying, you actually struggle socially, which I did. I struggled socially, believe it or not. I wasn't actually good at talking to people. And so the first fucking book I picked up was How to Win Friends. And so when I picked that up, it was about that personal growth, understanding, okay, well, actually, hang on a second. If I learn how to talk to people and be interested in people, then all of a sudden I become interesting.
Going back to Mitch's question, when you decided that your current business is in a position where you can start a new business, last year, 2024, we have kind of themes or call them seasons. Last year for us is better than new, from Hermosi, from Ovens. Like, hey, let's just optimize this to the point of it cannot be optimized anymore.
Yeah.
Get it to a position. And we're often confused of hey, is this new thing a distraction or an opportunity?
Well, it can be. It can be. I think that's a really good question, good point. I think back to the statement that, there's going to be every offer, there's going to have waves. And so there's going to be, phases of growth, and everything's just working and it's amazing. And there's going to be difficult moments. I think it's about, entrepreneurship is about identifying opportunity when you really think about it. And that's been the biggest lesson, the hardest lesson for me, because back to what we talked about earlier, I've always been in health. And so I am a fitness entrepreneur. Well, no, I'm not.
That is so interesting.
No, I'm not, right? Because that was my limiting belief. And I recognized recently, well, hang on a second. No, I'm not. I just so happen to be using these skills that I've now learned to have an online health offer, but it doesn't mean there isn't something else I can't do at an extremely high level that creates opportunity.
And here's one for the passion people. You started being extremely passionate about health, and over time you became more passionate about business. And if every fit pro can go through that experience.
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you limit yourself to say, well, I'm a fitness professional, and you box yourself into that forever, well, you're possibly cutting yourself off to many other things that you're actually very good at. So I had to identify, okay, well, through COVID, there was an amazing opportunity for health offers. It's changed. I will openly say that the market has changed, and every market does. So Wayne Gretzky says you don't skate towards the puck, you skate towards where you think it's going. And that's not easy, because you need to identify how is human behavior changing, and how are we interacting and whatever else that's changing opportunity. Where is it going?
That's the challenge, isn't it? Because it's you've at some point made that decision, and I don't know if it was like a moment. It's like 5:30 on a Tuesday. I'm like, okay, I'm moving on. But there is sometimes evidence to the point where it's like
there's lots of evidence. There's lots of evidence,
and it's steering me this way.
Well, it's also about the life you want to live, right? I think when you sort of make your first million, right? We've done 30 plus million online, right? When you make your first million, you learn a whole bunch of lessons, and those lessons, if you're paying attention, then help you make future decisions. And so entrepreneurship really, when you get past that first million, it's no longer just about money, it's about a life by design.
Yeah.
Right? It should be about a life by design. And when you're running a business now that no longer, it may still fire you up, but then at some point you're going to be confronted with a very difficult question. Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
Is my life and how I live my life worth the squeeze, right? Is this still how I want to be doing it? Because for most of us, when we get to a certain point, we realize actually it's not. There's a better way to do it.
Yeah, we are.
It's whether we have the courage to face that.
One thing I'm most proud of is we have a very good life by design. As in we've got
well, then you hit the nail on the head. That is by definition true success.
Yeah.
If you love your day, you love your life, you're healthy, you're fit, you spend time with your kids, your family, whatever it is, you get to holiday, you've got peace, then you've hit the nail on the head. The fitness business no longer really brought that to my life.
I want to backtrack something you said. The offers,
I'm still running it.
Offers are in waves where things are good, things are bad. It takes a tremendous amount of humility to understand that maybe you were a part of a boom. I said this 100 times and I'll say it again. In 2015, we opened our first boot camp, the peak of group fitness in a small town.
Well, not even the
wave.
peak.
You recognise the wave.
No, we didn't. We just fucking fell ass backwards into it.
We're just lucky.
Yeah, and it bought our houses. And just like I am humble enough to realize that, like, mate, if me, you,
if we knew what we know
today,
then, dude, I'd have gold teeth.
Yeah,
I'd have gold teeth. I'd be on here with diamonds on my teeth.
And here's something even more humbling. If us three joined forces, we couldn't create a business more successful today than the one 10 years ago.
Now it's much harder.
Because of combine all the skills, everything we know.
I'll show you how hard it is.
Booming.
I'll show you how hard it is, right? So when we launched what we were talking about before we got to $1 million months, we were 1/10 of how good we are as an organization today. As an offer, as a service, and from a positioning perspective, 1/10.
Yeah.
But yet we were doing more in terms of revenue than what we can achieve now with a better system. So we talked earlier about evolution. If you aren't constantly growing and improving, if you just look at the compounding effect of like inflation, it's kind of the same concept. Things are naturally getting harder every single day, whether it be market forces, out in your control, out of your control, whatever it is, things are changing. Your brand needs to improve on a daily basis just to stay still.
Yeah, I think about, like, I'm sure your first ad was pretty terrible, and now you got Sophie Faulkner, ex-Wheel of Fortune girl, doing your ads. Like, look at that growth.
Yeah,
well, it's still harder.
It's still not enough,
and it's dependent on what's like what year you're in, what's happening at the moment. I was talking on the way down to Jayme. I said, whatever happened to tanning salons? They just don't exist.
They don't exist anymore.
Like,
I mean,
but they were all the rage. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And if you opened a tanning salon today, with your skill set, with your everything, us two, like, we wouldn't be able to make it work. I don't think.
Mitch was really high on barbershops about 10 years ago.
and now they're everywhere.
I think that the challenge is, and for us, it is as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, is the humility to recognize that, in fact, we aren't special. Right? Not everything that we touch will turn to gold. That, in fact, there is opportunity and preparation. Sometimes, you put 10 things out there and one of them's going to land. That's the key, right? Yeah. I mean, anyone successful that you listen to, you follow and you speak to will tell you that. I'll put 10 things out, one of them will work and that will work big. Therefore, I win. Now I'm a winner. Yeah. But what we don't see is all the 9 that failed, right? Yeah. And so it's the relationship with failure that we need to reframe and recognize that's just all the evidence that I needed to show me what actually does work and then move beyond that. So an extremely hard lesson for all of us, and this is me sort of talking to myself, is removing that statement, I am just like, for example, a health entrepreneur, and opening myself up to opportunity and going, okay, where are things moving? How is society changing? Where is the opportunity? Where's the next wave? And what I recognize is simply this, is that the way we want to live life today, like our generation, those sort of in your years, I'm in my 40s, so a little bit lower than that, 30s and 20s, they don't want the status quo. They don't want the life that our parents lived. No. They don't want that. And given market forces, for example, people can't afford to live in Sydney or wherever it is. I mean, look at what's going on in Bondi, in fucking Double Bay or whatever. You got 400 people, whatever it is, lining up for a fucking apartment. Yeah, well, that's bullshit. Imagine lining up for that to pay exorbitant fees. So then you go to a job that you hate, and then at the end of the week you've got no money. So then you're grabbing a bag of Coke just to numb the pain. People don't want that life anymore.
And your thought is, with like remote closing, young people our age want to work from their laptop, want to work from Bali, want to live where they want.
Freedom.
Just one word.
You think about it, because we if we truly recognize that life is short. Yeah. And there's only so many years we have, and every day that is gone you're never going to get again. It's the only resource that is non-renewable. It's the only thing that really matters. The most successful people I've followed and study, I don't just follow them, I study them. Like, what are they talking about? They're talking about the fact that what matters to them most is time. Yeah. And so this generation now, with AI coming in, recognize I've just done a fucking degree that no longer exists. Eric Hoffer said, there's a famous quote about him saying that learners, how's it go? Learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves perfectly equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. Yeah. So in other words, You can go do that degree for 4 years and then come out on the back end and recognize, holy shit, this industry will no longer exist in 12 months. Now, what the fuck?
That's such a good word, freedom, because that's all I wanted when I was at Centrelink.
That's
to
all
feel
we all
free.
want.
It's what a lot of people want, I think. And that's where, especially now with the whole working from home and the internet and technology and everything, like you don't have to go in and drive into the city and park and drive into your workplace and sit down at 9 o'clock.
We've got to wrap soon, but I would love your definition of freedom.
I think it's really just having the ability to do what you want, when you want, without having to be somewhere at specific times. I'm not sure if that's quite worded
I'll
the right
add
way.
to that what you want, when you want, with whoever you want. And that's my definition of freedom.
Yeah.
What is yours?
You guys hit the nail on the head, just like you're reading my mind. I remember having this conversation at a dinner table, and a friend asked me, and then we had an argument about it, which is funny enough.
I won't argue with you. That's okay.
And I was like, my version of freedom is being able to do what I want with whomever the fuck I want, whenever the fuck I want, as often as I fucking want.
Yeah.
That's freedom. And that is the whole concept of fuck you money. In other words, you have autonomy. That when you look at personal development, sovereignty, right? So when you look at personal development and a lot of the sort of books on human behavior and persuasion and motivational interviewing, the one thing we fight for the most in any interaction is autonomy. We hate being boxed in. We hate being told what to do. Think about how society now is reacting to government and instruction and whatever. Like, you have to do this kind of thing. It's the pushback. So
I'm just laughing out loud because I think, imagine if you work for a corporate job. Shane, sit down and do your, sit down and do your work.
2 minutes late
I'm
today.
like, fuck you, I'm out of here. Yeah.
Here's my notice.
I often think about, like, imagine if I had to go through it. Imagine if I was applying for a job. I wouldn't know what to fucking do, what to say. Like,
I wouldn't know. I mean, I'm unemployable. You're unemployable. Yeah. You're unemployable. I'm definitely unemployable. What I mean by that is it's a beautiful thing because,
risk of flight risk.
Well, unless you take on that kind of personality and that internal, I suppose, position where what matters to me most is autonomy and choice. And I want to create impact. I want to do things that are meaningful because an average existence is boring. And no matter what we do, some down the line, you'll be forgotten. Doesn't matter what you do, right? I mean, Hormozi talks about this, right? And it's a Stoic principle as well. So why not just fucking have a crack at it in this life then?
Yeah.
So that you do something that's meaningful, something you're proud of. Even the failures, be proud of those because at least you did it.
Yeah. The biggest risk,
time will pass you by.
Time's going to pass anyway. Things are going to get hard regardless. Things are going to change either way.
The biggest risk I took was I was working for Centrelink at Tuggerah. My parents had declined. I was living at home at the time. I worked 10 minutes from an office. My hours were 7:50 to 3:20. I was on about 80 grand at 21. Loved Woodport. Loved Terrigal. And like going to the gym, my life seemed great. I was fucking dying on the inside.
Isn't that amazing? So many people are.
Quit my job. Work for Fitness First at Chatswood for like $45,000 a year, $35,000 pay cut.
Yeah.
Added in 20 hours of commuting, and I was happy as Larry.
Isn't that interesting?
I was that was like, and that's the thing. Like, it sounds like it was.
So
that was the biggest decision I've made in my life.
So I'm going to give you an example, right? So let's imagine there was a bag of money, and I had this bag and it had $10 million in it, right? It's real money. I haven't stolen it. Just to give you a bit of context. And I said to you, Rob, I'm going to give you this money. Simple question: yes or no? Would you take it?
Yeah.
You would, right? Mm-hmm. What if I added a condition and that condition was, okay, you can take it, but the caveat to that, now the condition attached to that is that you'll be locked up for the next 10 years. Would you take it?
Locked up in prison?
Yeah.
No.
Why?
I wouldn't want to be locked up for 10 years.
Because freedom. Yeah. Because freedom is more important than money.
Yeah.
And so what we just discussed was $1 million a year is still not enough to keep you a fucking prisoner, locked up, remove your autonomy, remove your choice. But people do it for 90 grand, 100 grand a year without thinking.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Shane, appreciate it, mate.
Yeah.
I hope you inspired someone today. I'm sure you did.
I'm sure we did. I hope
someone.
All right, that's a wrap, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.